Now say this out loud as you're driving around in your car.
Join Sports Skillet.
Just what it feels like.
So how do you like it?
So what is it? I'm curious.
You like it like this?
My God, do we love football.
Or like this?
I love the sport of baseball.
And what about this?
You can have a sports show without all the vicious talk.
Simple human decency.
Whatever it is that you like.
Yeah, I like chaos.
We've got it covered.
Right?
It's sports the way you like it.
My friends, you may not know this. It's got everything you want.
Here we go. Local and national sports talk that's fresh, in season, and FDA approved. If it's hot, you'll find it cooking with Jeff, Jay, and Kelly. They don't just stir the pot, they add more flavor than the other guys. Get ready to dig in and taste some Sports Skillet.
Ooh, tastes good.
Right now.
And welcome once again to the Sports Skillet live stream right here on YouTube. We do this every Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. If you miss any portion of this show, feel free to go over to sportsskilletradio.com and listen to it. We also have a social media there. We also have the opportunity for you to download our app so you can listen to our show on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey every Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. Always have some great guests, some great conversation, arguments, stuff like that. I had a hot show last week, let me tell you. So you don't want to miss any portion of the live stream or our show on 920. So download the app there. Feel free to check us out on our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and right here on YouTube. We talk about anything you want us to talk about, in the world of sports, whatever's going on nationally, NFL, MLB, NASCAR, you name it, pro wrestling, you name it, we'll talk about it right here with you. Just drop us a line in the comment section, and whatever you want us to comment on, we will. But we've got a great show lined up for you today. Lots of things going on in the world of professional baseball. We're going to get to an NFL conversation coming up as well, but we're going to kick things off because right now we've got a ton of managerial openings in Major League Baseball. The latest came yesterday when the Phillies parted ways with their manager, Gabe Kapler. Gabe, I thought, was a really nice guy, very intelligent guy, knows analytics, but for the Philadelphia Phillies just was not the right fit because the Phillies 2 years ago cratered in the month of August, and this year actually cratered earlier. They actually cratered in the month of June. They went into June 3 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves in the National League East. A lot of optimism, a lot of people thinking that, hey, this could be the season where the Phillies actually make the playoffs and get some playoff action in the city of Philadelphia, playoff baseball action returning to the city of Philadelphia. But guess what? No, they cratered once again. Were garbage from the month of July on. And that's what I feel cost Gabe Kapler his job because he didn't hold the players accountable. He let the locker room kind of police itself. And eventually, because of that, because he didn't hold the players accountable, because he was too much of a nice guy, because he relied probably a little bit too much on analytics, gone. So now the Phillies are in the hunt, along with a bunch of other teams that we'll go over, are in the hunt for a manager. And I just want to introduce everybody else here. Of course, we got Jeff Scott. We've got Mike Nebbia here. And we are now going to bring into the conversation, as well as we always do, our good buddy Ken Moskowitz. Ken, how are you doing today?
How we doing, guys?
Fired up. Lots of stuff to talk about, Ken. First of all, can you let everybody know how they can find you on social media?
Sure thing. And just before I do that, very quickly, just a little disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen. If I do sound a little on the nasally side, please forgive me. the weather change has just been ridiculous up in North Jersey here. So, but of course, I just don't want I don't want to miss the broadcast for the world. So, but again, please forgive me. Otherwise,
let me just say this, Ken. I something going around with Sports Skillet because everybody so far, I think, except me and Mike. I don't know, Mike, if you've been sick recently, but
it's just allergies, Jay. I'm good.
Just allergies, huh? Okay.
But I don't broadcast that.
Yeah, but everybody with Sports Skillet has had some type of allergy or something like that, So don't feel too bad there, Ken.
I'm telling you, it's been from that 95-degree day to the 55. Since then, it's just I've been like up and down. So just but forgive me though.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook at Ken Moskowitz in parentheses Crossing Guard Ken. Thanks to the elements out there that's making me do this. But otherwise. On Twitter and Instagram, Skywarn Spotter Ken.
Gotcha. So, Ken, we found out yesterday, and the Phillies, 1 o'clock, are going to be holding their news conference. That should be pretty enlightening. But we found out yesterday that Gabe Kapler is out as Phillies manager. And your thoughts on Gabe being gone?
Well, I'll tell you, you know what? In the wind-up, I really thought in the wind-up it was going to happen. For the one simple fact that, look, if he were at the helm again next year in 2020, what's it gonna be? Crater in April? I mean, look, and from what I understood through media sources when I was flicking through this morning, it was just basically a matter of, Gabe sticking around and, what could be, a matter of a 3-game losing streak, at the start. And, that's all it would have taken. So it was bad enough with the 11 days. I mean, everybody thought, including myself back in, 05, 06, 8 days before Ed Wade was, until the decision was made to let Ed Wade go, but 11 days was just a little much. But hopefully, we could put that, to bed now and move on with the next step, which obviously is looking for. From what I understand, this manager is supposed to be experienced, so. I mean, it could be a Madden, it could be a Girardi, Showalter. I mean, we don't know. We don't know exactly who's out there yet, but the word right now, and the way I'm gathering the information, more or less, it's a manager that's going to be that has the experience right now. So I can tell you right now. I don't think we're looking for any first-timers again.
I tend to agree with you there. And usually when teams, in whatever sport you want to look at, usually when they fire their head coach or manager, usually they go in a slightly different direction. They don't, if they have a young, like in the Phillies case, if they have a young first-time manager, now you're going to go in the opposite direction. You're going to hire somebody with playoff experience who's probably maybe won a World Series championship or at least been through winning a division and has that experience going for them. You're not, as you said, you're not going to hire a first-time guy. And I also think that the analytics stuff is going to be maybe there, but it's not going to be the be-all and end-all. Like Gabe Kapler was heavy on the analytics. That's why Clintac brought him in. This guy may have a somewhat analytics background like Girardi does. He embraces analytics to a degree, but I don't believe it's the be-all, end-all for Girardi. Like, he will manage according to his gut, manage how the game is going. He'll have that element to his managerial style.
Exactly. I think what will happen is they're gonna hire that experienced manager that, yes, will have that handbook, that mental handbook of analytics in their back pocket, but in the wind-up and dealing with Phillies baseball the way we know Phillies baseball should be, they're going to, yes, this experienced manager is going to go with his head thinking process, go with his gut feeling. Should the runner steal second? Should the runner, should the batter, swing for the fences or not, or try to, lob the ball in the left field, whatever the case may be, this guy is going to go with his gut feeling. So I agree with that. I do agree with that.
I just see a tweet that was sent out by Bob Nightingale. I want to get your opinion on this. Ken, friends close to Curt Schilling say he would love to get back into the game and has significant interest in interviewing for the Phillies managerial opening and or the Red Sox pitching coach job.
Well, you know what? Look, I think and now before I touch on that, one of the neighbors of mine this morning who knows me very well, he said, well, what about Jim Thome? Look, Jim Thome, in my opinion, you know what, as far as first time stuff goes, he probably would be a really good hitting coach thanks to Charlie Manuel's way of doing things, and where Charlie managed Jim at one time or another too. So I can understand Jim Thome being a hitting coach, but not a manager. In light of Curt Schilling, here's what I would say. I would say no, not a manager. Look, if he wants to manage, if he thinks he's going to manage someplace else or get hired, have at it. I don't think he would be a good, a manager, at least to start. I do think, though, and I've said it for at least the last 5 years or so, I think Schilling would probably be a heck of a pitching coach, though. I really do. I mean, he knows his stuff right and left. I mean, I've heard him, analyze years ago on ESPN. So, I mean, I do think, and hearing radio interviews too, in years gone by with him, he knows his stuff. So I do, as far as pitching coach goes, I think he'd be great. I think he'd be absolutely wonderful as a pitching coach. Manager, it's in question. I mean, look, if he gets into the coaching scene, I think at least the pitching coach would be a nice start for him, and then as the years trickle down, go by, maybe down the line, maybe a manager, but not at this time, though.
And Jeff is telling me we got a question from our YouTube audience. Jeff, what have you got?
Well, Busty helps if I turn my mic on.
Sometimes, yeah.
I know, right? Busty from who's watching actually says she's a Dodgers fan, but she felt the loss was hard to take, and she's asking whether or not Dave Roberts' job is at risk for not delivering a win after getting so close so many years.
Well, I saw it on social media last night that the Dodgers have announced that Dave Roberts' job is safe, and they're going to bring him back for another season. But he's another guy that you have to look at with the Dodgers, not getting to, and, well, I won't say not getting to, but not winning that World Series title that's kind of been eluding them recently. You have to look at some of the decisions that he made last night and, has been making in some of these playoff games, and you have to bring them into question too. And this is a really interesting time, and I think, Ken, you'll agree with me, with some of these guys that are out there, like a Girardi, like a Mike Scioscia, Joe Madden, some of these other Buck Showalter, some of these other up-and-coming bench coaches that, seem to be spiking a little bit in teams' interest. This is like a ripe season for some of these guys to get hired and go to teams with a managerial opening. And if you're even quasi thinking about replacing your manager, this would be probably the season to do it, because you have some very good veteran guys out there. You have some up-and-coming coaches that may be looking to get their first managerial gig. Maybe if you're the Royals or Pirates, something like that, you want to hire a young coach, maybe give him his first opportunity to help build your team. Maybe if you're, the Angels or the Phillies or the Cubs or the Mets, you might want to hire a more veteran guy. But this is a ripe opportunity to at least bring in these guys that you can talk to. What do you think, Ken?
No, absolutely. I mean, and yes, it is. This is. I've said this already. This is going to be one of the most interesting off seasons, I think, to date. And now that we have the vacancy there in Philly, I'll tell you, it's going to be really interesting. And I do think I don't think it's necessarily going to take a lot of time. Let's hope not. Let's hope it's not going to be 11 days or more. But I'm sure Middleton and company. I know. By the way, when reading these articles this morning, okay, my sense is this. Now, Middleton owns 48% of the Phillies. The other 52%, all right, let's not forget, is owned by Jim and Pete Buck, all right. Jim and Pete Buck, at the end of the day, my opinion, okay, I think is pretty much giving Middleton the all clear to, look, you know what, you need to steer this ship and steer it in the right way. Otherwise, and we're looking over your shoulder, John, because if you don't do this the right way, we're going to be the ones taking over. So I don't see that. You don't see that?
Not at all. Middleton is the guy on the Phillies. Middleton is the guy making the calls, running the Phillies. Middleton is the man on the Phillies. So any decisions that come from Middleton. Not the Bucks. Yeah. Bucks are like a silent, and I do believe that Middleton owns the majority of the stock. I don't think it's the Bucks. I think because if it was the Bucks, you'd be seeing them front and center. You wouldn't be seeing Middleton, and you wouldn't.
Well, that's true.
And you wouldn't be seeing Middleton front and center making all the calls out in front. It would be the Bucks. So Middleton is controlling the Phillies. That's where ultimately the dollars stop is that it was Middleton going and recruiting Bryce Harper, wasn't the Bucks. So everything Middleton is the guy. Leave the Bucks out of it. They're in the background. It's all Middleton.
Right. That is true. That is true. But I did read though too that it seems as if right now too. But and speaking of that, and to your point with that Middleton seems to right now if it goes as according to plan, and if he hires that right experienced manager the way we're discussing it, all right, and given the manager in the contract or whatever, giving him the every right to do what he wants to do with that lineup, okay, I can sort of see in a way Matt Klentak being a bit of an irrelevant name, if you will, too. So
I agree with you there. I agree with you. I think this is going to be an interesting hire, because if you bring in a Girardi, if you bring in a Madden, by the way, I think Madden's going to the Angels, but that's just my thought there. But if you do bring in a Girardi, as your next manager, he's going to, and I said this I think last week or whatever, he's going to want control of the lineup. He's going to probably want significant amount of money and years to become manager of the Phillies. So you're going to have, so Clintack's control is going to lessen. And here's the thing too, that I think people need to take into consideration as well is that McPhail and Clintax, I believe their jobs are on the line at this point going forward. So this is going to be a key managerial hire for the two of them, because if the Phillies finish where they did this year, 4th place, behind the Mets, out of the playoffs, tanking in September or August or July or whatever, and just a pile of garbage, like that, and no playoff hopes in July or whatever, I believe it's not going to fall on the manager this year, that the axe will fall on Clintack and McPhail. You agree with that or no?
Oh, I know, absolutely, 110%. There's no doubt about it. There's no, especially with Clintack. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And that's the other thing too that I did read as well. I mean, all eyes are going to be on the two of them, and especially with Clintack this year. I mean, moving forward, and you be honest with you, actually now even so, just so we're all on the same page as well, too. Now, there was a thing as well mentioning in regards to, as far as the coaching staff goes. Now, once Kapler, now I know right before yesterday, it was mentioned about, 4 of the, 9 or 10 guys that apparently were retained, quote unquote. But to clarify it though, now that yesterday happened, or right after yesterday morning happened, it stated that all are invited. Now that's the key word, invited. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have job stability. So that I just wanted to make that clear. I do think though, there were 2. I did made 2 predictions. I don't think I did it on there though. I do think, Jay and gang, that I do think Dusty is fine. I think he's going to spread his wings though, and I do think I might have made mention of it. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I do think Dusty. I think he's in line for that Kansas City job. And I know I've been reading a lot about that. I just want to know what your take is on that. But I do think something is telling me that I think he may very well land that job.
Talking about Phillies third base coach Dusty Wathan, used to manage the Phillies AAA affiliate in Lehigh Valley. I do believe that Kansas City might be a good fit for him. He has that AAA background where he's managed, different personalities, different ages in AAA. And a lot of his guys came up, like a Reese Hoskins and so forth, came up and had initial success with the Philadelphia Phillies. And he would be a young guy with some experience.
With experience dealing with younger players.
Yep.
And the Kansas City Royals have all those young players looking to build their careers and develop into another championship contender.
Exactly, Mike.
A good fit for the Royals job. Now, as for the Phillies job, that's a little more up in the air.
Agreed.
Those 4 coaches, who shall remain nameless right now,
throw their names out.
Been invited to return. Doesn't mean that they are being retained. They've been invited to return.
So I have competition then? So these 4 coaches, I'm going up against that. Great. I'm never going to get a job, I swear to God.
I tell you. Yeah. But
applying something and
Yeah, I did apply.
Imply, not
And the other
apply.
one, and the other one that I was throwing out there too, Rob Thompson. Now, I've been saying all along. Now, if for any reason, if we happen to, now that we have the vacancy, if we do land Girardi, my thought process is I think Rob Thompson will most likely be retained and be reunited with Girardi. However, I think something is telling me, I think after all these years of him being a bench coach, I think he's finally going to be spreading his wings and landing a managerial role as well. Me personally, I think San Francisco. What about you guys?
What do you think, Mike? Rob Thompson out in San Francisco? Maybe.
Possibly San Francisco, possibly KC or Anaheim if they don't land Madden.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think the slings and arrows, the way I've been reading it too, the slings and arrows, it seems like all along have been pointing to Los Angeles as far as Madden goes, the Angels that is. So I tell you right now, I think he's most likely a shoo-in for that. Girardi, I know I've been also saying too that it seems like it's more and more of a possibility that, with the new television network that the Cubs are getting to, I think also too that, he on the other end of the spectrum, he might be that shoo-in as well for the Cubs. But, again, now that we have a vacancy in Philadelphia, it's a big question mark. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
But the Mets are in play for Girardi, too. The Mets are in play for all these veteran managers. Girardi and Madden and Showalter. Who knows? This is a silly season. This is a silly season for all these managerial vacancies. To borrow from an old NASCAR term.
Exactly. And I think that's what's going to make things so compelling going forward is that you have some big markets like New York, like Philadelphia, in play for some of these guys. Chicago is in play. Some big market teams. And then you have some of these younger teams as well, like the Pirates, like the Padres, like the Royals.
Like I can't think of one right
You know.
I can't think of another.
Yeah.
Marlins have a good team, but I think they're sticking with Mattingly, which is
Yep.
a bad move on their part. I think Mattingly should have been let go. Why did they not let him go?
Good friends with Derek Jeter. That's the only thing I can come up with because I've never seen Mattingly do well on a team. I don't know about you, Ken, but Mattingly's never, to me, been an impressive manager at all.
It seems like the first year with the Dodgers? I think maybe if that, but. Yeah, no, I agree with you though, Jay. It seems like he hasn't, been that good leader. I mean, he not to say that he's not a good leader, but he's not. He's not there yet.
Yeah,
I don't think he's there yet. That's given any benefit and defense to him. I don't think it's not enough time yet. I don't think.
I don't know. I think he would make maybe a good assistant coach or something like that. Or, I don't think he's a bad guy at all. But I just don't see him having a ton of managerial success. I mean, he's gotten to manage the Dodgers. I mean, the Marlins, he just hasn't had the horses. And he's in a very good division. So, it's going to take the Marlins a little bit to catch up to the other teams in their division, and
right, and that's the other thing, And speaking of, as far as what could be a good assistant, manager, or maybe even an assistant hitting coach, the way we had it with Wally Joyner, maybe Gabe Kapler, maybe it may fall into that type of role, perhaps, as opposed to. Manager type. But who knows? Who knows?
It's a possibility. I mean, like I said, Gabe Kapler is a nice enough guy. I see on Bleacher Report he might be a finalist for one of the openings that are out there. But, like I said, he's a nice enough guy, but I just, I think Gabe Kapler needs a little bit more experience. He might wind up in San Francisco, who knows? But, I think he'll be coaching somewhere this coming season. If not as a manager, maybe as an assistant coach somewhere.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, if he had the experience the way, like a Dusty Waffen had, maybe. But yeah.
But it'll be interesting. We're about 15 minutes away from the Phillies press conference, and it'll be interesting to see how the three powers that be in the Phillies answer some of these questions, like Middleton answering why was just Gabe Kapler fired and why did you keep, Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak, why did it take so long? Why did you keep Gabe Kapler twisting in the wind for over a week, when, it was widely assumed that he was going to be let go anyway. And that actually built some support for Gabe and endeared Gabe to, I think, the Philly fan base, just because people didn't want to see him twisting in the wind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And what really, what really ticked me off too with, as far as Middleton too, and I'm sure with the rest of Phillies Nation as well, the fact that we had to read that Middleton, halfway through this 11-day monstrosity, whatever you want to call it, had to now ask some of the key players, like, really? John, grow a pair in plain English, and you make the decision. It shouldn't have to be, whether it's key players or mediocre players. It doesn't matter who's on the team as far as, players, as far as the players go. At the end of the day, they may have a liking to Gabe, they may not, whatever, but it's your decision, not theirs. I just, I'm sorry, but it just didn't really, it really in a way didn't sit well with me.
I hear you. So, for you, if you had to pick a couple of candidates or maybe one, who would you like to see managing the Phillies in 2020?
I have said Girardi all along.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll tell you, when we brought up Sosha a couple weeks back, he has sort of moved into my number two. All right. But otherwise, worst case scenario, all right, would be Buck Showalter, which he's not a bad guy. Buck's not a bad guy. He's had teams in years gone by, well over 500. All right. But he just he's got to get them to the promised land, though. That's the one, drawback with Buck. Otherwise, Buck's not a bad guy at all. But me personally, I'd be rallying and rooting for Girardi.
Okay, so let me bring Mike back in there. We're going to switch real quick. Well, let me ask you, Mike, who would you like to see managing the Mets in 2020?
My number one, gotta be Girardi. He's got a New York pedigree. He knows how to field winners. He knows how to be a tactician. He's a tactician at heart. He knows how to field his lineup, set up his lineup, work the bullpen. He's my guy. My number two is Showalter. Number three is Madden. I think Madden might take the Angels' job. I think the Cubs may go with someone younger. Like you said, teams tend to go in different directions when they find their manager. So I think the Cubs go with someone younger, someone who's played before, someone who has baseball knowledge, baseball experience, and may have been a bench coach or a pitching coach or hitting coach.
Who's being mentioned for the Cubs job all of a sudden is that David Ross, former player for the Cubbies. So he may be in play for the Cubs managerial opening. I agree.
I would like to see that.
I would like to see that too. But let me turn the page real quick over to the NFL. Mike, we saw the Giants play last night. Unfortunately, they took a loss against the New England Patriots. What did you think of last night's game?
First half was pretty decent for the Giants. They kept it close, but they totally imploded in the second half.
I agree.
They imploded like the 2007 and 2008 New York Mets. What the juice?
I agree. I actually thought they might actually pull that win out last night. I actually thought, because they were close going into the third quarter. They were only down by like a touchdown, 2 scores. And
they were down 21-14 heading into the third. Scoreless third. Then they imploded in the fourth.
Yep. And
what in the world is going on with the Giants? They're 2-4 heading into week 7. They got a fairly easy matchup week 7. And I think they rebound next week.
They could. I mean, I thought watching the game last night, I thought it was more of the Giants' errors and the Giants turning the ball over and actually shooting themselves in the foot rather than the New England Patriots beating them last night. As good as people think the Patriots are, and I believe they have a really good defense, I'm not really impressed with their offense this year. And the Giants gave them some short fields, turned the ball over a few times, and I believe that's what cost the Giants last night. Daniel Jones is still learning a little bit, still going through his growing pains as quarterback and, turn the ball over, but I believe you eliminate those turnovers last night that the Giants had, and
they win that game 28-21.
And exactly. They could have, maybe they win the game, maybe they don't, but it's a much closer game, and maybe they could even pull it out. But I think it was just the Giants whiffing on a tackle late in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter when they were trying to get the ball back. Just turning the ball over and shooting themselves in the foot.
Burris, as I call it.
Yes, getting some bad penalties and that type of thing. And that's what I think cost the Giants last night. Giants are now, like you say, Mike, 2-4. Eagles playing on Sunday. Ken, what are you expecting out of the Eagles on Sunday?
Oh, well, besides them winning, I'm expecting them to really, to keep that offense of the Vikings, as far as, at bay and better, because, the Vikings, as far as anything offensively, their running game, we'll say, is probably one of the best, all right, out of anybody in football. But, offensively, they're not, when it comes to the throwing game, their passing game, it's not by any stretch a really good throwing game. So I think as long as Schwartz and company there, holds them downfield, all right, and not let them, walk across us and walk upfield and score, I could see this being a nice comfortable win for the Eagles in Minnesota. I could see, maybe like a 35-24 type of win, or at least within a 10-point margin, I think.
I could see something like that. I mean, I think the Eagles have to be conservative, have to keep, running the ball. The Minnesota Vikings have an excellent running back that will give the Eagles fits, and they'll have to contain the Vikings running back. But if they can make the Minnesota Vikings one-handed, and by that I mean just having to throw the ball and limit their running game, I think they will be okay. And I think they can come out of Minnesota with a win. I want to ask Mike, I know we only have a few more minutes with you, Mike, but there's another big NASCAR race coming up this Saturday, or Sunday, I mean.
Yeah, we're in Talladega this week, final restrictor plate race of the year, and this track is fraught with danger. It's not a matter of if the big one will strike, but when. The key, stay out of trouble, stay away from the big wrecks, and you'll be fine. Kyle Larson won last week at Dover. This week, guys like Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, they all need to have good days to stay in the chase. I am going to pick a driver with restrictor plate knowledge, with restrictor plate wins, and someone who desperately needs to have a good day. That would be Alex Bowman with the 88.
Really?
I'll have Chase finish in the top 5 for this one. He needs to have a good day, and I think he will do that. That goes off 2 p.m. Eastern on NBC, not NBCSN like I wrote down in my article.
Gotcha.
A bit of a misnomer there.
So if Chase doesn't have a good day, where does this put him overall?
It'll put him in a must-win scenario for next week at Kansas, the elimination race in round 2.
Gotcha. So he needs to finish. Where would you say, in order to top 10?
At least.
Top 10 at least. Gotcha. And that is going off a Sunday
2
p.m.
on NBC.
Gotcha. So we will be checking that out. You guys want to do some predictions before you leave, Mike?
I'm predicting Vikings over Eagles, 34-20.
Okay. Very cool. Gotcha. And Ken, you already said the Eagles were going to win on Sunday, correct?
Correct.
All right.
At least by a 10-point. Look, if they pull out what they did in the NFC Championship game a couple years back, all the better. But I can tell you right now, I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think, though, as long as they do play the conservative ball that they need to be playing against this team, I do think they can squeak out a win by at least 10.
Okay, and let me get you and Mike's opinion. Saints at Jaguars. Who do you guys think will pull that one out?
Minshew, baby.
What?
Minshew, baby.
There you go. Mike, who do you think will win, Saints at Jaguars?
I'm going to go with the Jags on this one. 27-21, overtime.
Gotcha. And 49ers at Rams. This is a big divisional matchup for those two teams. Niners are undefeated. Ken, who you got?
As long as Gurley could really, ground and pound his running game, I think the Rams can pull one out.
Gotcha. All right. There's some NFL prediction.
And apologies to your brother on this one. I'm going to go with Jared Goff and the Rams. 31-10.
Gotcha. Hey, it could happen. I mean, the Rams really need this. They need to give the 49ers a loss and everything. So we'll be paying attention to that. Ken, I know you got to run. I know Mike's got to run. Ken, can you let everybody know how they can find you on our social media account?
Sure thing. Ken Moskowitz, in parenthesis, Crossing Guard Ken on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter, Skywarn Spotter Ken.
All right, guys, we are going to pause for a brief commercial break at this time, and we're going to pay some bills. And on the other side, we got some great talk. I know some people will be tuning out for the Phillies press conference, but hang in there. If you miss any portion of the show, feel free to go in and listen to us on our YouTube channel, or feel free to download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. And right now, we are going to go to our commercial break.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.
Have you ever fantasized about playing against a football great? Do you think you have the skills to beat a Hall of Fame quarterback? Well, Sports Skillet is offering a unique opportunity for you. Go up against the legendary Joe Montana. Enter by joining our Pick'em League. Follow us on the Sports Skillet Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we will send you the link to battle the former 49ers quarterback and receive $2,000 if you come out on top. Remember to tune into the Sports Skillet live stream every Friday afternoon and every Sunday on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. And check us out on sportsskilletradio.com. Download our app and take us on the go.
Remember the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name? Never been there. But every time I walk into Wildflowers restaurant on Pennington Circle, I feel at home and that I belong. Friday night, I headed over to Wildflowers, and even though it was packed, I easily found a seat at the bar and got cozy with 17 TVs. Baseball, golf, entertainment TV, you name it, including all NFL games. The bartender Dave suggested I order the Buffalo Wing Sampler, and you could tell he was a fervent fan. But reviews on Wildflowers Inn restaurant Facebook page demanded I try the garbage truck pizza, and Kelly had just arrived and promised to help me dig in. Then it came. Garbage truck pizza does not live up to its name because it smells amazing and it tastes even better. Freshly sliced peppers and pepperoni, garlic, mushrooms, mozzarella, and meatballs all baked on this incredibly crunchy and warm double crust to hold it all together perfectly. Heaven, especially with one of their 23 beers on tap. I'm a believer. Go to wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more info or just come in. They are conveniently located on the Pennington Circle, right near I-95. I promise you, they will welcome you warmly, feed you well, and perhaps soon even know your name.
And we are back here on our Friday YouTube live stream. We want to thank you for joining us. Again, if you miss any portion of the show, feel free to check us out on our website, sportsskilletradio.com, or even better, you can download our app. We are on live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. Also, like, follow, and share all our stuff on social media. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just do a search for Sports Skillet. We'll pop right up there. And again, we talk about whatever is important to you. We try to answer your questions every Friday afternoon here on our YouTube channel. And you can also call into our show on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey every Sunday morning as well. We want to hear from you. Whatever questions you have, whatever you feel is important, debate us, that type of thing. And I believe next week what we can do, too, is work on putting out a number for you guys to call in. Or if you wanted to call in now, feel free to do so. I can give you the number, 856-330-4749, if you want to call into the show instead of just typing stuff on our YouTube channel.
Makes it a lot easier for us to answer questions, too.
It does. We can go live. Again, the number is 856-330-4749 if you want to talk to us live on air. We love to talk to you, and hopefully next week we'll have that scrolling across the screen a little bit. But Jeff tells me that we are having some technical issues with our YouTube stream this week.
Oh, yeah. In fact, if anybody's even still watching, that'd be great. But they've been commenting pretty well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. If you are experiencing some technical issues, it's with YouTube. What we are going to do is after the live stream ends, we will upload the full live stream so you'll be able to hear it from beginning to end. I know some people have probably gone away, maybe checking out the Phillies press conference. But if you're still here, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Talking about the games coming up this week. Some games are going to be good. Some games are not going to be as good. We've got the Panthers at the Buccaneers. 9:30 a.m. That's going to be in London. it might be an interesting game. Buccaneers are 2-3. The Panthers are 3-2, so that might be a somewhat competitive game. You don't know how things are going to go across the pond, as they say, over there in London. So that might be interesting to check out. And that game will be kicking off at 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning.
You want to hear something funny? I never
Sure.
knew we actually played NFL across the way. I never knew
Yep.
that. I thought it was always stayed in America because I thought it was an American sport. Why would he go over to London? Their idea of football is our version of soccer.
Exactly.
You know.
But that's one of the things. They try to make sports global now, and try to expand into other countries. And sometimes when they do that, as I transition into another topic here.
Well, just real quick, before you get to the next topic, do you think that kind of alienates some fans? Because who can actually go to London to watch the game?
That's true. That's been brought up because it takes a home game. In this case, the Buccaneers are giving up. Their fans are only gifted 8 home games a year. So when you go over to London and you're the home team, now all of a sudden you're losing one of your precious home games. So your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now instead of having 8 home games in your stadium, now you have 7. So, if you have a big fan base, a rabid fan base, you're absolutely right, Jeff, is that, now all of a sudden, instead of seeing your team 8 games a year, now you're down to 7.
Yeah, unless you want to make a trip over to London and have a good time over there. I mean, I can understand that from that point of view. Make a vacation out of it. Hey, kids, we're going to London to watch football.
Yeah, or
Yay.
sightsee a little bit. Make it a vacation, which I'm sure some of these fans do.
I'm hoping.
Stay a couple extra days and check out, London and all it has to offer and sightsee and all that. So I'm sure it's not just like a weekend. It's more of like a vacation that you plan. And
you think the NFL would actually jump on that and be like, hey, let's make a vacation package for people that want to go over to London. Then we get more money out of it.
I'm sure teams do that. Teams do that, and fan bases do that. If the Eagles were to ever go over there and play in London, I'm sure they would have this big Eagle package, and
let's hope.
That they would do. But of course, we have this whole China situation that's going on with the NBA. I just don't know where to start with the whole China situation. It's just bad all around.
For those of us that don't know what's going on, why not just explain it real quick, and then this way we're on the same page.
Well, basically what's going on is there was a tweet that was sent out commenting on the current situation in China and the NBA by a former player. And the NBA then had to respond to it. And the thing with the NBA is that they have always been a player kind of run organization, and kind of they've empowered the players to speak out and for their causes, and it's been, they've empowered their players quite a bit.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden, according to CNN, the NBA has canceled all media access for the remainder of its visit to China, as it puts players in a complicated and unfair situation. According to the NBA, it said the league is embroiled in a standoff with China after the Houston Rockets general manager, Daryl Morey, tweeted his support for the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. Okay. Now, the announcement comes a day after CNN's Christina McFarlane was shut down by a Houston Rockets media officer as she tried to ask James Harden and Russell Westbrook a question about the NBA's position with China during a news conference in Tokyo. They, quote, the teams, have been placed into a complicated and unprecedented situation while abroad, and we believe it would be unfair to ask them to address these matters in real time, said an NBA statement Friday.
Wow.
So McFarland has since received an apology, with NBA spokesperson Mike Bass saying the incident was inconsistent with how the NBA conducts its media events. All the league's official Chinese partners have suspended ties with the NBA as it comes to terms with the fallout of Maury's tweet, which has since been deleted. But of course, everybody knows on Twitter, once you hit the send button,
it's out there.
It's out there. People screenshot it. It will never die. So whatever you tweet out, good, bad, otherwise, once you hit that send button and that tweet goes, people can quote it, people can screenshot it. It will never die. You may delete the tweet, but it will live on.
Exactly. I mean, look at all the stuff with the actors and their tweets and all their stuff. It comes back to haunt you. So that's why they always say, be careful when you're on social media, everyone. You never know who's listening, and what you say stays. You got to be careful.
Exactly. And like I say, so it's a very complicated situation. I can understand the NBA wants to wrap its arms around this whole issue before allowing the players to comment on it. But eventually, they're going to come back home, and these teams are going to be asked about it. Other teams are going to be asked about it because they're going to have media availability. Yeah. So, I mean, it's...
truthfully, I'm surprised he wasn't kicked out of China after he made the tweet.
Well...
I'm surprised.
Well, he wasn't necessarily in China at the time, but...
Oh, gotcha.
But he was, he was commenting on a pro-democracy movement within China.
Right.
And China having the government that they do, reacted and put its fist down hard and, wanted to squash everything because all of a sudden if they relent on this, Daryl Morey's tweet, then what other players are then going to comment on it?
True.
And now all of a sudden,
you got an uprising. China.
You got, now all of a sudden you got other people chiming in here and there. And now you've got the NBA who wants China's money, wants the Chinese market in there. And they're kind of coming to grips with, well, if we support our players that we've empowered over the years, now all of a sudden, if we do that, then all of a sudden we may be losing the Chinese market because...
I could see the delicate line that they're walking here.
Exactly. But if we support the Chinese government, now all of a sudden we're kind of supporting that kind of government, and now we have maybe an uprising on the other side, with our players, with our fan base, other countries maybe perhaps that, they're getting their money from. So it's a very delicate line, and I'm sure they're trying to wrap their arms around, okay, what do we do with this whole situation? Because eventually they're going to have to take a stand one way or the other because they've empowered the players, and you can't shut the players down forever. They're going to be asked about it, and you're going to get a player that's going to comment on it, and fans are going to want their NBA stars to comment on it, because this is going to be a hot button issue.
Yeah. I mean, whether you agree or disagree with the government in China, you need to respect the fact that they're in power. It doesn't matter what we do because we can't really do anything. I think the fine line is that you're trying to not incite riots and that I think you understand where I'm trying to go with this. You don't want to instigate any incidences, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
That could lead to something really bad. it's one thing to fight for freedom, that type. I mean, we're America. Of course, we want freedom, blah, blah, blah. We want other people to have it too, and we like to support that. But if it incites something bad, I'm not going to get into what or why. I think that is what they should really focus on. It's like, look, it's okay to support things, but don't do it at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things. So the NBA is going to have this controversy going on at least for a little bit, as they open the season and players get asked questions about their thoughts about what the NBA is doing, where the NBA stands on it, where they may stand on it, their opinions on it, and like I said, with the empowerment that the NBA has given in the past over their players and coaches and so forth, and personnel. I mean, Daryl Morey took down the tweet, but it's still out there. He has his opinion still out there. People are going to be screenshotting the tweet and everything. It's not going to die. And players are going to be asked about it. And it's going to be a hot button issue, I think, for a while with the NBA. And this could lead to other sports, too, meaning the NFL and NHL and so forth, trying to get money from China and maybe expand into the Chinese market, players getting asked their thoughts about what's going on with the NBA and what their thoughts would be, with baseball and, football and hockey and so forth. It's going to be a very delicate situation, not only with the NBA, but other sports as well going forward.
Yeah. I guess you have to look at it this way. Like, is it worth it? Like, do we really need China, or is it just something we just want to get to? Because there's other countries out there.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't we focus on them? And then eventually, once we have everybody on our side, guess what? They'll have to open up the doors and let us in.
That's
the way I look at it.
But again, China can do whatever China wants to.
Exactly.
Because they're not the democracy that other countries are.
Oh no.
So
Totally, that's a different topic for another time.
Exactly. So so again, I mean, so it's like it comes down to money. It comes down to players as well. Mining the Chinese market for players that want to play in professional sports here in America as well.
And not only that, but there's also the political lines that you have to walk too.
Like, exactly.
This might break down political barriers or put them up. Just because it's like, America's interfering again.
Yeah,
you never know how that's going to happen. So
and then all of a sudden, and let me tell you, our current president loves to get involved with sports controversies. So, so like you said, with the government and stuff, you never know when our president may chime in and
well, that's
say
okay.
whatever.
We have North Korea, so we're fine.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. Very true. But you never know, when it comes to sports and it comes to, governments and stuff like that, you never know when, our president is going to chime in and say something or try and do something or who knows.
Why don't we just settle this old school ways? Let's just have a basketball playoff between the Chinese government's basketball team and America's basketball team, the U.S. Olympics.
There you go.
And then whoever wins can tweet whatever they want. If not, we'll shut up.
There you go. But we want to hear what you think about this current controversy going on within the NBA, and will it spill over to other sports, and what's your take on it? Feel free to drop us a line or a quote on Instagram or Twitter or our Facebook page or here on YouTube. Feel free to comment on it, and we'll answer back to you. But again, we got the Phillies press conference going on. So if you happen to drop out, we certainly understand. Right now, what we're going to do is our weekly segment. We call it This Week in Sports History. And what it is a segment done by my brother, Jeff. He opens the history books and he takes us back. Could be 10 years, 5 years, 100 years. and opens up the history books, takes us back, because there have been some phenomenal events that you may have forgotten about that you want to discuss with us here on the Sports Skillet live stream or on our social media pages. Events that, happen on this coming week in sports history. Jeff does a phenomenal job with it. So let's open up the history books, take a look back on what happened this week in sports history, if I can get it up here on the live stream.
So I did my hand things too soon.
Yeah, hand things are a little bit too soon, but it is coming up any second here. We will have it, and it'll be my brother Jeff taking a look back, opening up the history books. The history books are thick. That's what's taking it so long.
Do they have the key on thing on there? You got to unlock it like, stupid latch.
I think it does, so we're unlatching the history books. They got some cobwebs on there.
Tell them get a Kindle to just put it all on there.
Yeah. Sometimes our computer is a bit slow here, so
sometimes
it does take us a little while to get it up and running. But
once it goes, it goes.
Yes. But it is a good segment. It's well worth you spending your time and waiting for.
We're building the anticipation. That's what we're doing.
Come on.
We all love learning about history. I love history class because sitting there, especially our teachers like this is not that.
No.
Almost there, everyone.
Almost there. If we can get.
Yeah. I'll just keep talking. I'll just keep filling it in. Don't worry, Jay. I got your back.
Okay, cool.
So let's see. What can we talk about? See, that's the thing. When you put on the thing, you never know. You keep doing your doing. I got this.
Okay.
I got this. So, but yeah, I enjoy history, and I think Jeff's segment is really good. I mean, he definitely takes the time to go back and really find everything that happened either this week or today. I mean, he's really good. He digs in there. He gets those pages separated. He goes through every paragraph. It's great. Wow.
It is taking a while.
I see that. You're really pushing my pushing me here, Jay. It's a good thing I'm being paid for. Oh, wait. Never mind. I love doing this. This is great.
But we will have, after this week in sports history, we will be doing our weekly wrestling segment.
Yeah.
There we go.
Transition.
Welcome to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant. I'm Jeff Sellner. Let's dive right into the history books. October 13th in 1960, Bill Mazeroski, a second baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates, hit a walk-off ninth-inning home run in Game 7 of the World Series against the New York Yankees. It was the first time a winner-take-all World Series game ended with a walk-off home run. The Pirates won the game 10-9 before 36,683 fans at Forbes Field. Ralph Terry surrendered the famous home run by Mazeroski in relief. On October 14th in 2003, Cubs fan Steve Bartman deflected a baseball away from Cubs left fielder Moises Alou. The Cubs would give up 8 runs in the 8th inning of Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. The Marlins would win Game 6 8-3 and defeat the Cubs in Game 7 9-6. The Bartman incident is seen as a turning point of the series. On October 15th in 1933, the Philadelphia Eagles played their first NFL game, losing to the New York Giants 56-0 at the Polo Grounds in New York with 18,000 fans in attendance. The Eagles went 3-5-1, failing to qualify for the playoffs under head coach Lud Ray. On October 16th in 1968, Americans Tommy Smith and John Carlos famously gave the Black Power salute on the 200-meter medal podium during the Mexico City Olympics. They had already removed their shoes in a protest against poverty, and they also wore beads against lynching. Smith and Carlos were later ordered to leave the stadium and were expelled from the American track team. Their actions came amid the context of the Vietnam War and the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., but the image of the Black Power salute remains one of the most powerful images of protest ever. On October 17th in 1989, the Loma Prieta earthquake took place at 5:04 p.m. Pacific time. The earthquake reached a magnitude of 6.9 and lasted for 17 seconds. The earthquake caused 63 deaths and more than $6 billion worth of damage. A piece of the upper deck of the Bay Bridge crumpled to the lower deck. Game 3 of the World Series was postponed that evening and would be played 10 days later. The Oakland A's swept the Giants in 4 games, but the earthquake remains a story of that World Series. On October 18th in 1950, baseball legend Connie Mack retired as manager of the Philadelphia A's. During his Hall of Fame career as manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates and Philadelphia A's, Connie Mack won 5 World Series as manager of the A's. In his managerial career, he won 3,731 games. Mack managed the A's for 50 seasons before retiring on October 18, 1950. On October 19th in 1957, Maurice Rocket Richard, a right winger for the Montreal Canadiens, became the first player in NFL history to score 500 goals. Richard ended his career with 544 goals scored, and as a member of the Canadiens, he was part of 8 Stanley Cup championship teams. Thank you for listening to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant. I am Jeff Selner.
And we are back here on the Sports Skillet live stream. We do this every Friday afternoon, coming to you live from the CSB studios in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Again, we want to encourage you to check out our live show every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio 920, or you can go to sportsskilletradio.com, download our app, and you can listen to us live there, or just click on the Listen Live tab on our website, sportsskilletradio.com, and you can listen live through your mobile device or computer or whatever device you are listening to us on. Yeah. You can also check out our Twitter feed and also everything we got going on. We always post on sportsskilletradio.com, all our events, things like that. So you want to go over and check out sportsskilletradio.com when you get a chance. We do post our podcast there and stuff with our guests and things like that. So well worth your time to go over there and check out.
Absolutely. So much good stuff just up there.
Exactly. So now we do it because we are Sports Skillet and we talk about anything and everything. You know, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, and cricket. Yeah, like I said, if you ask me a quick cricket question, I don't know that I will give you the right answer, but who knows what'll pop out of my mouth. You know, that's one of the things with me. You never know where I'm going to go, what I'm going to say, or anything like that. So that's one of the great things about Sports Skillet. But we do our weekly wrestling segment here on the sportsskilletradio.com. One of the few shows that will cover anything and everything with you guys, try to answer your questions. So, talking about wrestling, Sasha Banks is currently out of action right now. She's been placed on medical by the WWE, which is why you haven't seen her on some of the weekly shows within the WWE. She suffered a tailbone, according to PWInsider.com, suffered a tailbone injury at Hell in a Cell when she was wrestling in that. So because of that, the WWE has put her on the shelf for a little bit to allow her tailbone to heal. No timetable for Sasha to return. So that's going to make things interesting story-wise with her and Bayley, because the WWE is going forward with their draft. It starts tonight. Will Bayley lost her title. Sasha did not win any of the titles that are out there. Bayley lost to, of course, the Queen of the WWE, Charlotte Flair. So you have Charlotte and, of course, Becky Lynch as the women's world champions. But now that leaves kind of, where do we go with Bayley? Where do we go with Sasha? Sasha, no timetable for her return, but you got to do something with Bayley. You can't leave Bayley all alone. She's healthy, one of the top stars in the WWE. We last saw Bayley crying and kind of throwing a fit after losing her title. So we'll see where that storyline ends up going as we move along in the WWE. But big thing right now tonight, Friday night on SmackDown begins the draft. So we'll see where that goes. And it concludes on Monday night. They're going to have a couple of rounds with the draft. And each round, a show can draft either, if you're part of a tag team, like, the Viking Raiders or the OC, they can be drafted by a show as a single, or they can draft the entire tag team as a whole, as one of their picks, either or. But they're going to have several rounds, and we could see some tag teams maybe splitting up. We could see maybe some tag teams staying together, moving to a different show. We had our lights go out again. This happens every year. See me waving around trying to get the light to come back on. We're shrouded in mystery and darkness right now. But
until I get up and actually go turn on the lights.
Exactly. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting scenario with the draft, finding out who's going to be on Fox and who's going to be on USA going forward. So, how many of the top stars wind up on Fox? That's going to be a huge question. And who are they going to be fighting against? Because now, you've had some of these feuds built up. Seth Rollins versus The Fiend. Where does that end up? You've got some feuds being built up for the next pay-per-view. You got to allow those feuds to continue. So it's going to be an interesting scenario starting tonight as far as the draft goes. I'm real anxious to see who ends up on Fox and who the WWE retains for Raw on the USA Network. One thing I am excited about, too, that occurred to me too as the WWE began their rebranding, if you will, that Raw has a new intro to begin their show, a new video package and a new intro for Monday Night Raw. And I love it because it is being done by my favorite band, Skillet.
Okay.
So you can see Jen Ledger drumming, female drummer for Skillet. You can see her drumming on there. You can see other band, as they cut to different band members of Skillet. You can see them playing the guitar or keyboards, jamming on the drums like only she can. And they do the intro song for Monday Night Raw now. They've done some songs in the past. They are a very good band. If you want some like emotional songs, some songs to kind of work out by, some songs to kind of rev you up a little bit, they are a very good band to go in and check out. They just played New York and Philadelphia. There you go.
What happened? Okay, sorry.
I love it. I love getting a little Skillet in there.
And I didn't want to do that soon. I was trying to set it up for you.
But I love it.
Technical difficulties. My bad.
But yeah, if you want to, let's play it again, Jeff.
I was going to try. I was going to see.
Let's see if we can do
see
it.
if I can do this now. So see if this can work. All right. Set it up. All right. So, Jay, I have the video up. I think I'll play it for the people.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Let's see how this works. See if we can get the audio in here. So. I love the fact they also have the pyrotechnics, too,
Yes.
mixed into there. I think that's really cool. And remember, we have to talk over this, too, a little bit so that we don't get copyrighted.
Exactly.
Especially with YouTube. So I think that's all we can play right
Yep.
now without going too far.
But there you go. So if you tune into Monday Night Raw, you'll hear Skillet open the show,
Yeah,
which
good
is
band.
really cool.